What is an ATV? Our buddies from Trax defined an ATV as a tool to take you from over here to over there, because over there is the place you want to go. Far be it from us to argue with our northern dirt daddies from Trax, but we have a slightly different take on the matter. For us, and riders like us, in most cases, the destination is irrelevant, and the right ATV's sole purpose is to provide maximum thrill on the trail until chance, nature's call, or straight up fatigue determine a stopping point. Simply stated, it's not where you're going, it's how you get there.
Wear a helmet.
Outside of racing motocross and GNCC, sport ATVs have become a pretty niche market in off-road. Aside from some of the old schoolers stubbornly refusing to let the segment go, and a new wave of vloggers reminding the younger generation that solid axles translate into the biggest adrenaline rush, as a purely recreationally focused option, Sportquads have taken a back seat to Sport Utility ATVs, and ATVs in general have taken a huge blow from the side-by-side market.
Use the sport machines, I'm reaching for a clutch, and that's a brake lever, boys.
While we definitely don't condone side-by-side use, we can understand an argument for the Sport Utility ATV over a pure sport quad. But in this video, we're going to cover the top reasons why sport ATVs might be a better option than the bigger, more comfortable, and arguably more capable sport utility machines. If you've been following the channel for a while, you probably already know that the big fellas from Dirt Obsession went from the biggest and most powerful ATVs on the market to solid axle sport ATVs because, for our interest in riding areas, sport quads just made more sense. All things have their place, there's no doubt about that, and in many circumstances a sport utility ATV is going to make life much easier. Nasty mud hole, flipper to four-wheel drive. Rough rutted trail, plenty of ground clearance for that. Gotta do work, racks and towing capability are definitely going to help you there. And a long ride, you can bet that 4x4 is going to be more comfortable. So honestly, under what conditions is a sport quad better than a 4x4? The answer to that question is purely for fun. When we say all things have their place, what we mean is that the space that we reserve in our garage for ATVs is purely for weekend thrills. The weekend's forecast, 100% chance of trail ripping and not giving a fudge. And that's a non-answer, really. I mean, all ATVs are fun, and there's probably a ton of dudes out there who would straight up trade their clapped out 400EX for a new Renegade. So let's dive a little deeper. The first reason why sport quads are better than anything is because they're faster on most trails. Unless the trail is really rough, really rough, a sport quad's lower center of gravity, lighter weight, and ability to slide into curves makes them faster on trails. There's nothing like breaking the back end loose on a solid axle machine and using your body weight, which in our case is a pretty significant advantage, to move the machine around, and it makes for a much more active rider experience. That's why GNCC Racing's main event on Saturdays is the XC1 Pros on the 450 class sport machines. They're faster, tougher, and require a bit more skill to ride at a top level than the 4x4 class. A sport quad's agility and nimbleness is especially more entertaining when you're riding the same trails over and over again, which brings me to my next point. Sport quads make small riding areas feel bigger. When you're riding the same places over and over again on an incredibly capable machine, riding can start to feel a little redundant. On a sport quad, familiar trails take on a new life. Line selection can be different, jumps and berms are much more fun, and if all else fails, find a play hill and spend half the day climbing and screwing around. Sure, you can do all these things on a big ATV or even a side-by-side if you want to be a total disappointment to your parents. But there's nothing more fun than session riding and hitting the same exciting part of the trail over and over again on a sport machine. The next reason why we like sport ATVs is that the challenge is part of the fun. Well, it's true, a lot of trails are getting really chewed up by those goddamn side-by-sides. With a lighter, more nimble machine, you have the ability to choose a greater variety of lines and get off the trail for a go-around much easier. But a lot of times, taking a sport quad where other machines struggle is just the kind of self-gratifying experience that'll make you feel like it's time to delete your browsing history. In the real world, capability is relative to environment, skill, and huevos grandes. And there's a lot of places where any combination of those three will get you further on a sport quad than most other machines you can take off-road. Another significant advantage of a sport ATV is that the cost of ownership is cheaper. And okay, it's hard to keep this one in check because it's easy to drop serious dime on anything, and when you first get an ATV, you promise it the world and hope that your bank account can deliver. This problem gets magnified tenfold if you have to order and wait on a machine. Believe us. But the cost of ownership of a trail-oriented sport ATV like a 400EX, or the more relevant because it's still available, Raptor700, is extremely inexpensive compared to most 4x4 ATVs, and it's certainly less expensive than any side-by-side. Raptors have a really long maintenance interval, and if taken relatively good care of, your machine's not going to cost you an unexpected dime. We just haven't found that to be true on any other type of machine. Doing maintenance is typically much easier on a sport ATV too. Everything is generally pretty accessible, and everyone who has ever tried tearing down a big 4x4 ATV will tell you that there's definitely a lot of barely accessible parts crammed into some very tight spaces on those machines. Modifications are easier too. Everything from swapping out an exhaust to replacing suspension. It's just easier to wrench on a sport quad. For us, it all came down to fun factor, and while we love taking a nice, cushy and capable sport utility machine for a long rip, a sport quad provides much more trail excitement while being less expensive and easier to work on over time. Hopefully these little nuggets of information help you in your ATV endeavors. Remember, what's right for us may not be right for all, but those would be the points I'd make to someone on the fence about which ATV to get. Hit the like button and let us know in the comments if you want to see the arguments for 4x4 ATVs over sport quads, and we'll conduct that incredibly scientific analysis as well. As always, thanks for checking out the video. We'll see you next time.